Welcome to Classic 4x4, the podcast for and by classic four-wheel drive enthusiasts. I'm your host, Chris Piccone, and you can follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook at classic4x4_trucks. Also, make sure you subscribe to the show on your podcast listening platform and check out our website at classic4x4.com. And make sure to reach out to us if we can help you sell your classic, custom, and modified truck or 4x4. Hello, Classic 4x4 podcast listeners. It is official. We are halfway through season 3. This season, as everyone knows, is dedicated to listener requested guests and topics. And today's topic is actually a parlay off of a topic we did on episode 4 with our guest, Drew Norman from Jeep Farm, where we talked about bespoke and custom Jeep builds. But I quickly realized that in that episode, and obviously not only what I know, but also what Drew knows, is CJs, SJs, or I should say Jeep CJs, Jeep SJs from the Kaiser and AMC eras. So one thing that's unique, and we actually alluded to on that episode, is the fact that YJs and TJs are actually technically classics now, which is absolutely mind-blowing because my first car was a YJ, as everybody knows. TJs came out like when I was in college. Man, there's nothing like making you feel old when the cars that were driving around your high school parking lot are now classics. But hey, that's neither here nor there. So a listener actually requested this topic, which was to hear about YJs and TJs. And I said, who do I really know that knows YJs, knows TJs, knows LJs, JKs, JLs, and JTs is the guy that refuses to work on CJs and SJs and will only work on YJs, CJs, LJs, JKs, JLs, and JTs. And that is the one and the only Joe Fattorosi, my friend, who I've talked about a lot on the podcast before, dropped his name several times. And as many of you know, he is one of the owners of Urban Jeep Outfitters in Avon by the Sea, New Jersey, which is a town north of me. I could walk there. I actually pass his shop every single day on the way to my garage. But for those of you that don't follow Urban Jeep Outfitters on all the social channels, check them out. It's at Urban Jeep Outfitters. Also check out their website online at urbanjeepoutfitters.com. And also follow Joe. His handle on all the social channels is Joey, or at Joey Jeeps. But Joe, thanks for joining me today, man. So this is going to be a super fun episode because we've known each other for several years. We hang in the same circle of Jersey Shore truck and car guys. So I'm excited to talk to you today. And I gave you a little burn earlier about the guy that doesn't work on CJs and SJs because I'm always begging him to work on my stuff. And my stuff is...
Nope.
But you have built some really cool YJs, TJs, and even some more amazing, JKs, JLs, and JTs. I mean, your build quality, the organization in your shop is absolutely amazing. I've been in it on multiple occasions on probably a monthly basis when I pull up behind your back door and say hello every once in a while. But I'm excited to talk today about not only Urban Jeep's history, a bunch of your builds, and some of the stuff that you guys do over there. But before we do so, I want to make sure I give the credit where credit's due for today's episode. And that listener is Ryan Frechette. Ryan is from the great state of New Hampshire. And you can also follow him on all the social channels at Lucky to Be Lost. So Ryan, thank you for requesting this topic to talk about YJs and TJs today. But hey, Joe, what's good, man? And how you been? You working on anything fun? Anything in the shop today that you were working on that was fun?
What was I doing? I was fixing a JK top from Bermuda that we got shipped in. The whole JK got shipped in, and we're doing a full build on it. It's almost done. We're kind of getting there, and then that's being shipped back out. Put a new motor in it, new paint, everything, interior, lift, all that kind of stuff. So I had to do a few things. I got
and this client is in Bermuda, is based in Bermuda?
Yeah, he lives in Bermuda. He's one of the builders in Bermuda. So I guess nobody builds Jeeps in Bermuda. So that might be one of my retirement go to Bermuda kind of thing. But there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go there to have it completely redone. And we tried finding him a right-hand drive JL to do, and that was almost impossible. That was pretty hard to find. So he was like, I'm just going to ship mine over to you and you just do it. I was like, all right, cool. Like 3 days later, it showed up. I thought we were going to wait like 2 months
just
for it.
Put it in a
like
shipping container and like it just right through Port Newark?
Yeah. They do like a loop. They'll go from like Newark, they go to South Carolina, they go to Florida, and then they hit Bermuda on the way back. And then from Bermuda, it's only like, probably 20 hours to get here by boat. So it's really not that far. So like 2 days later, the thing's there. And we're doing a full thing on it. So that's pretty cool. And it's right-hand drive, but just every time I go to get in the car, I go to the left-hand side. It's like I
love
still
how
can't
you
figure it out.
nonchalantly talk about engine swaps. Like, we're just swapping like a 392 or a Hemi into it. What are you swapping into this one?
We just went straight 3.6, really? Just went right back to the 3.6. So his was kind of knocking a little bit, is a little old. So we just kind of put a new motor in, freshened it up. And then, cause like, I don't think ripping through Bermuda with a 392 two-door JK is like, they're a little bit strict over there with, what they allow and all that kind of stuff. So, I have to keep the tires, kind of within the fenders and, all that kind of stuff. So we just put it back, it wants to be reliable because, if anything happens, you just got to send it back to me. You know what I mean? So, but no, we just did a 392 swap and a JL. That was pretty cool. And that's something we're going to really start getting into. So there's a bunch of people who provide the swap package. There's a couple of them, and there's one big one, which is AMW. And we're trying to be the only people in the Northeast who actually are certified through them. So we got a couple things coming up. Hopefully a Gladiator 392 swap that we're going to make into a factory looking truck, like it should have came from Jeep like that.
That's super cool. You have enough, definitely have enough experience swapping those 392s and those Hemis. I feel like every time I'm at your shop, there is the front clip is taken off of a JL or a JT, and you guys are there's just a frame and there's a fully dressed 392 sitting next to it, right on the dolly, ready to be popped in. So that's cool. Right. So talk to us about Urban Jeep. What is the history like? I know it literally started out as a mom and pop body shop in downtown Avon by the sea. And what's interesting is like our listeners, it's tough for them to exactly.
Which is a wild place to have a body shop. I was just
about to say it's tough for any of our listeners to really picture like Avon by the Sea is this quaint little cute beach town in coastal New Jersey that the downtown, like the last thing you would ever think in a million years was on the downtown, was on the main drag, was a body shop, let alone a custom Jeep builder, right?
Right. Yeah, right. Well, there goes that's the problem with getting people through the door is like, you drive, what is it? I think it's 6 blocks long by 6 blocks wide. I mean, it's nothing. But it's big money, huge money, place to live. You ain't getting a house for under $2 million in Avon. So you would just think like, oh, there's like, cute stores here and, coffee shops and all that. And then there's this place that has like 6 Jeeps parked.
They're just Urban Jeep outfitters just plopped right in the middle. But that was so you're right. Like you're the third generation. It was your parents had it, which your parents are still very active. I see them there every day. Right. They're great people. I'm very fortunate to know them.
Every day.
It was started by your grandfather, right? Okay.
It was started by my dad, and his dad helped him, my grandfather wasn't like a car person, but he helped my dad out, and so they bought it in 1987. And in 1991, I believe, he passed away from lung cancer. So, him and my dad had it. My grandfather was he like helped fix things around the shop, and he would change a light bulb and do this and do that. He wasn't the person who really worked on cars too much. That was my dad's passion.
So your grandfather really ran the show, which is pretty much the role that your mom plays these days.
He would just kind of like, I think I was only 3 when he passed away, so I didn't really know him, but from when he just kind of putzed around. That was kind of his deal. He'd sweep up, he'd keep everything nice and organized. He'd do this, he'd do that. And my dad, he liked to fix cars, and he's been fixing cars since he was 14 years old. If you're ever at the shop, he'll tell you, his first car was a Corvette and, all that kind of stuff. And that's what he liked to do. So he opened up this shop. I don't know how he found it, because they're from Woodbridge, which is an hour north. And he just, I don't know, somehow rolled upon this shop and bought it. And we've been there ever since. So, but when I got out of high school, collision work is not really my
forte.
It's boring. I mean, I'm good at it now, it's what I do, but it's boring. You're putting cars back to the way they were. It's, and the insurance companies don't want to pay you any money. And, it's not an industry where a mom and pop place can really go anywhere. You're kind of, pigeonholed into this little niche, of customers, and, you're never going to make enough money, to do anything. So I said, we got to do something else, and, I always loved custom cars, and all that kind of stuff. I love trucks. And so I was like, let's start doing custom stuff. And I got out of high school. We started building custom cars and trucks. And I started doing wide body Dodge Chargers. And I built the first wide body 300 in the world. And I built that for a customer in Chicago. And his friend worked at a Jeep dealership at Seaview, which is 5 miles away. And they contacted me and said, do you want to build a Jeep for us? And let's see if we could sell it. So I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I'm cutting cars apart and putting them back together. I think I could handle building a Jeep. You know what I mean? So I built it, and they sold it within like 2 days. And I think we painted everything. We made it, like now, which is a high altitude JL, or a JT, which is smooth and painted bumpers and handles and mirrors and all that. And we did that to it to make it look like more of a soccer mom type of truck, because we don't really have,
we have the beach
stuff here.
Yeah, we have the beach. You can drive on the beach at Island Beach State Park. There's a little bit of the Pine Barrens and Wharton State Forest where we can drive in. That's continually getting limited. But, this isn't like we're not living in Colorado where we can just, go out, leave on a Friday night and drive hundreds of miles out onto BLM land and camp. That's not our world around here.
Right. You're not in Pennsylvania, where you got Roush Creek and all that kind of stuff. It's like, so we made a bougie version of a Jeep, and then we called it the Urban Jeep. That was the origin of the name. And once we started building them, we just started building more, and then we just kind of phased out everything else, except for collision. Even today, we still do collision. And then because we have 36 years of customers, and then I have customers with Jeeps who have accidents and they don't want to go anywhere else. So they come to me. So, I kind of get it double there, but that's where it started. And
that first one that you contracted to sell that sold in 24 hours, what was that? Was it a JK?
It was a JK, cool. And it was billet silver. And then we did everything to it. We put 22s on it with 35s, and and I thought it looked cool. You know what I mean? So sold it, and then I did a white one, and then that sold, and then I just kept rolling them, and then I got we started getting our own customers.
Hey, every single business, and I talk about this all the time, starts with a passion, man. And that's where your passion was, and that's why you're successful, and that's why people are sending you these Jeeps from all over I would say the country, but now it's the world, because you're getting them internationally, right? To this, which is amazing. And our listeners have to go on Google Maps and look up Avon by the Sea, look up Urban Jeep Outfitters, because all this is happening in this quaint little quiet beach town in New Jersey, which is absolutely wild, right?
Right.
But
it's on Main Street. It's a 7,000 square foot shop. I mean, it's pretty big, but it's just plopped in the middle of a place where you work out and a dentist.
That's too funny. So let's talk about, you do a lot of JLs, JTs now. Obviously, that's your bread and butter. But in the past, you've done YJs, TJs, and let's talk about some YJ TJ builds you've done. I don't want to talk about your personal one. I'm gonna leave that one for the last one we talk about. But off the top of your head, what wild YJ or TJ builds have you done?
I did a TJ build for a local customer, and I've done a couple of them. I did one in Mustang. It was like a Mustang blue. I painted it. That was pretty cool. And that was a nightmare when I got into it. But I like that one. But I did a coated one for
for Dave.
The home builder.
So let's talk about Dave's TJ, because Dave drives that around.
Dave,
and you did. He drives it all over the place.
He loves it. He drives that thing all over the place. And listen, Dave can buy whatever he wants.
He loves that TJ. And you did that. That's actually a fun thing to talk about. You actually trail coated that. Before, trail coating was cool, and now trail coating is sadly not so cool anymore, right? So I mean,
that's cool.
I'll put it to this. I take it from the marketing side, right? And when you have to resell those things, it's tough, man. Right. It is definitely tough because you're not ripping that trail coat off very easily. You're not. I know,
I made a lot of money on my
but that's
JT.
when that was at a time where that blue JT was insane, right? But that was also at a time where it was very popular. We've kind of seen the world come full circle, but that was the first time I actually ever saw anyone trail coat a vehicle in general, let alone a Jeep. So how did you end up trail coating? What did that JT start at? Or I'm sorry, what did that TJ start as? And what did it end as?
Mm-hmm. I can't tell you what color it was. I don't even know what color it was to begin with. But I think it was like a bluish, like a steel blue kind of color. And then we did the top, we color matched everything with it, but everything's coated on that truck. Nothing's painted. So he wanted that, easy to take care of.
Yep.
Like that, you just hose it down. There's no waxing, there's no this, there's no that. And he keeps it outside and you just hose it down and that's it. It's a done deal. And I love it because I hate waxing cars. I hate cleaning them. I hate it. Like it drives me crazy. And that's why I coated my JT in that. And you just hose it down. I just took a power washer to it, and just blew it all off and that was it. It was done.
That JT was pretty cool. That JT that you coated, that blue was insane, man.
Yeah, it was like Pepsi blue, and then we did a bunch of, 4-inch lift on it, 40s.
Back to Dave's TJ. Did you do any modifications on that, or it was just literally stripping it down to nothing and painting it, trail coating it, and putting it back together piece by piece?
Yeah, just stripping it down, to nothing. On it, on those things, you always find something. His was no exception. But yeah, it was a nice truck. But I did a YJ for a customer in Deal, which was it's just like jet black, And then we put, I don't know what, it had all the stickers running down the side, like pinstripe kind of things. But we just repainted it all to black, kept it stock, new wheels and tires that were stock.
That classic look is,
I like that. I thought that was
super
cool.
And man, YJs are coming into their own. People want square headlights these days, and those things are doing numbers that I never expected, especially the Saharas and the Rio Grandes, man. People are running those things up in the market right now, and they're hot. And the more original they are, the more desirable they are too.
Yeah, I had a customer come in last week, and he wants to repaint his YJ, and I don't do that. I just don't do it anymore just because I have too much other work, with the newer stuff, and it's a lot easier to do
I know.
stuff than it is
How many CJs have I begged you to paint?
So, yeah, and I won't do it. I don't care. I'm not doing it. It's like, as soon as you pull
out of the car, no. No, I did. Nope. You actually were the first person I asked when I built that ground up CJ8 Scrambler. You were the first person I asked to do the body. And at the time you were like, there's not a lot of body work, but there's no body work because it was a new fresh tub on a Throttle Customs frame. But you were like, I'm busy, and I think that was also around the time where word started to get around there is a level of anonymity here because you do have a lot of celebrity clients, but word started to get around the locker room of a local NFL team that, this guy Joe down in Avon by the Sea is building these insane Jeeps. And then you have everybody in that locker room that wants an insane Jeep. So, and some TRXs in there, right? Yeah, there are
TRXs. Yeah, and now we're on to Broncos. So,
to say the least, there are several urban Jeeps in an local NFL parking lot. Yeah, yep, and some TRXs too.
There's a couple.
Yes. So there's a build that I absolutely love that you did. Again, it's not a classic 4x4 like a YJ or a TJ, but it was one of the first custom JT builds I ever saw. And and all of our listeners out there, you have to check it out. Go on Joe's social media, check it out. You built a JT, and it started out, I believe, as a white Jeep Gladiator JT, like what, a 2020 or 2021? 2020, right?
2020,
brand new Overland edition, just stock, and you turned it into a retro scrambler. And I still see it in the city all the time. The guy lives in the city. He parks on the street in the city. Every once in a while, it'll go viral on some, social media account where somebody sees this crazy Jeep parked in downtown Manhattan. But walk us through that, 2020 Jeep Gladiator JT that you took from a stock Overland edition and built it into a retro scrambler. Like, that thing was bonkers. Walk us through that.
Yeah, that was cool, and he's Jeremy. His name's Jeremy. He's from like South Africa or something. And, he's got a crazy accent and all that kind of stuff. He's super happy all the time. And he just called me on the phone and he was like, I heard you do these things and, I have an idea for what I want to do. And I was like, all right, well, hit me with it, And then he's like, I want to build a Scrambler JT. And I was like, all right, cool. So he started showing me all the pictures and, white one. And he wanted all the retro decals and, all that kind of stuff. So then, we started looking into it. And then, we put on wheels that were white, with orange, accents on them. And he had 2-inch lift on that thing, 37s. And then it had that crazy rack in the back. Crazy bumper in the back I did with some custom stuff on the side to incorporate, all the stripes that came through it. And, I tried to make it, as close to the Scrambler as possible. And then the hardtop, we painted that like camel color that came on them. And then we matched the interior to that camel top. So, it's full, inside's all camel color, the top's camel, He's got lights all over that
there
thing.
are more LEDs and
cool.
they're so tastefully done too. It's like, we're not talking about like, that we see the memes with like the 30 light bars, like,
Yeah. I think it has probably 30 lights on it. But
you Frenched a lot of them in, like, but when you're wiring that many LEDs, how do you have a centralized switching system in there?
That one was a pain because it has a rack, it has the big Fat Force rack in the back that has, I think the rack has 10 lights in it. And then it has the rack that's on the roof that has like, I think it has 8 light bars on it. And then the wires have to go through the roof, to keep it super clean. And it has to be disconnected. Take
the rack off,
in case he wants to take it off. Or if he wants to take the top off, I can't, wire it, all the way to the switch when, so I have to put in all these, connectors. I put them all into one. So it's just one connector that he unplugged. I tried to make it as nice and as easy as possible, for him. But he's never taken that top off. I know that, but in case somebody ever did down the road, I made it as, as easy as possible. But, with all our wiring, we try to keep it clean. We're very particular. Me and my guys are very anal about our wiring. It's got to look.
Now, is there a certain brand of centralized relay and fused relay, like switch panel that you use?
That was all.
Wow.
That was all done off the factory switches. So we ran, I don't think it had it to begin with, but we added the factory switches in that one. And they had the factory switches as 40 amps, 20 amps. So it's got plenty to run these LEDs, which are, they're like half an amp, right, each. So you can run a million of those
inside that truck, there's no obtrusive, aftermarket panel. It's just clean factory switches. Wow.
Factory switch. And everything's all tucked away. Everything's got, special wraps on the wiring that look like factory. It's got that snakeskin kind of, that Chinese finger trap stuff on there. And everything's shrinked and everything's wrapped in Tessa tape, which is what the factory uses. So I have Tessa tape. I got like about 50 rolls, and we just every time we just go through it, and but it looks factory, and that's how we like.
Is that the first time you used the retro CJ wheels that I think Quadratech makes them for the JL JT?
Yeah, that was the first one, but I've done them, since then. Some people like that. Like I just did one from the Hamptons. I did a truck from the Hamptons. I think you saw it. Yeah. With the white wheels on it.
I'm a big fan of white wheels.
With the rack
for some reason, I've had Danny powder coat more white for me. And when I talk about Danny France, who owns a local coating and Dayton Customs, which is he does all of our powder coating for us, all of our plating for us. It's an amazing operation. So you got to look him up. And Danny's gonna like our shout out. But Danny always jokes with me, man. He's like, Chris, you're the only one. I do more white powder coating for you than I do for anyone else that I think I've ever done.
Right. I think I had him powder coat all the, we did the rack in white on that. Yeah, I had him do that. I had to do the rack in white, the T-top, the top rack in white. I think we did the bumpers, or we did some other things in white that I had him powder coat. I think we did a couple suspension stuff while we were doing it that I had him do white. But yeah, I mean, that was pretty cool. I like that build. I like when people come to me with things that are, different, because I do the same thing every day. It's always, just JL getting lift wheels tires. It's JT getting lift wheels tires. When somebody comes to me with some wild stuff, I like it. Even it can't get wild enough for me. I'll do it. It doesn't matter to me. Like I did that JL,
the
that
Barbie
was like
JL,
all pink. I did
which
all the pink
I believe
stuff.
was for the wife of an NFL player, right? Yeah,
it was. No, it was for the wife of a past customer. Gotcha. He has a TRX that I built for him, and then his wife wanted this. She sent me pictures of like we're painting things pink, and I'm like, I had to tone that down.
That was toned down. The Barbie Jeep was toned down.
It was wild. Yeah, it was wild.
Did you post any pictures of that on your?
Wild.
Oh man, yeah.
Oh yeah,
listeners have to check that out. Yeah, of course.
Hate on me. I don't care. It don't matter to me. Like I love that. And she loved it. It was like, it's like that's what she wanted. And if you saw her, you would understand. She's got red hair. It fits her perfect. She's just eccentric. She loves that kind of stuff. Fits her perfect. That's what she wanted. And listen, if you're paying for it, I'll do whatever you want. Like I'm gonna kind of guide you a little. I'm not gonna like make it look stupid. But I'll do whatever you want. Like I had this. I forget, what did I do?
I like when.
What did I do? Oh, I did a JK. Was it a JK? Yeah, I did this JK, and I did a 4-inch lift on it, and I did white 24s, and you got to look that thing up. That thing was wild, and it had like, it was wild, right? And then I pulled into the dealership. And a local dealership, I won't tell who it was, and they, the guys in the back were like harassing me, like, I can't believe you built that, like, you should be ashamed of yourself. I was like, listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, they put more money into it than you make in a year. So you know what I mean? And I don't like, if that's what the customer wants. That's what I'm here for. I'm not.
Why would you say no?
And I'm also, I do whatever of course. I'm here to make them happy. That's what I'm here to do.
It's your build. It's your money. Whatever you want. That when you open up that garage door in the morning, or you walk out into your driveway in the morning and put a smile on your face. That's what matters. What other people think doesn't matter.
Right. Like I don't buy into that. Like
Oh yeah. We talk about that community all the time.
I mean?
Man.
Like you shouldn't. Like you shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. It's like, listen, it's your money. Do whatever you want. What are you worrying about? What other people think?
The most important thing is having the right person build and build it right. Right. And that is, that's something that you and your father and your mother do, is you bring it to a whole nother level. Right. Which is amazing. All
right. Like if you have a request, like, I don't know, I put an iPad in the dash of one time. I've done just, ridiculous things that you wouldn't even think of. But, I love that because it's fun. It's different, and allows me to do different things than, listen, you're going to get the same amount of attention from me. It doesn't matter if you're putting lights in your, JL, or you're doing a $50,000 build. It doesn't matter to me. You're getting the same amount of attention. But I like when people do like I just had a guy with a Bronco. We're doing this wild Bronco build. He's spending tons of money, but he's just like, make me the coolest Bronco you can think of. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, I like that. I like when somebody just, gives me carte blanche to do whatever I want,
As long as they like it in the end. If they're like, if you roll it out and they're like, oh, I'm not really into that. It's like, well, sorry, you told me what I got to do. And here's my bill, by the way.
Listen, if the money's green, I'll paint it pink. It don't matter.
You literally have painted them pink. You built a JL Barbie Jeep, which is amazing, which is a cool build.
Yeah, but I also just did a 392.
Oh, that's cool. I forgot about that.
Forgot. Yeah, because I wasn't here to take the final pictures for that thing, so it's not even like really floating around. But that was from upstate New York, and they sent the truck to me, and she wanted purple. And at first we were going like Purple Rain, which comes on the new ones, but she didn't want Purple Rain because you could just go buy one in Purple Rain. So she actually sent me first. This is how wild people are. First of all, she sent me like a pot holder.
Yeah.
You know, where you don't burn your hand. It's like the rubber. So she sent me a pot holder to match. Like that's the color she wanted the truck, was a pot holder. And I was like, all right. So I just started like mixing up colors, and then we sent them a bunch of colors. And then she sent me a sweatshirt. Yeah,
because you could just throw the paint camera right on a sweatshirt, right?
So
that's easy, right?
Yeah. So, we had the paint company come down and we scanned this shirt and we came up with colors, and I matched a 392.
That's awesome.
Wrangler
that is super cool. I love to hear stuff like that. The other thing we got to talk about too is how you guys are manufacturing the Gladiator badges for the tailgates of the JTs. Cause I think that is super cool. Like, where did that come from?
Well, we built a Gladiator to sell. And at the time there was another company who made a badge kit for the rear that just, it said Gladiator, and it was one piece. And, we wanted to add, because the truck was gray and black and red. So we wanted a gray badge with some red trim on it. And, we had a laser here at my house because my wife started her Etsy business with the laser. And she's really smart. And she was like, yeah, I could do that. So we just started, it took us forever to make it, because you got to make
each layer, right?
It's two piece. It comes with it. Each letters two pieces that fit within themselves. Comes with a cardboard template, thin cardboard template. So we had to design all that stuff to work, and then we made it for our first one. And people are like, "Yeah, that's pretty cool." I've never seen a Gladiator badge that's two piece where you could pick a different trim and a different center. So we just started making them. And my wife was, obviously she's very intelligent. I'm pretty stupid. So, she's good at designing that kind of stuff. And, so now I have two gigantic lasers in my garage, and I have a laser sitting over here, the little one that we started on, but I have one in the garage. It's like half the size of a car. And,
but my wife, she's all day long. That's
she's like, she don't do it. I do it. Because she has her own, she has her own Etsy business, and she's, she's top 1% in the world on Etsy, and she's extremely successful with that. So she has no time to do this anymore. And so I had to learn, how to manufacture these.
So Joe, your wife has the Etsy business. You're building these Gladiator tailgate two-piece badges, which are super cool. And for our listeners to really visualize this and understand this, when you buy a brand new or a used Jeep Gladiator JT, which is, for most of you do know, which is the pickup truck version of the Wrangler, on the back tailgate, it has a Jeep emblem, right? It just says Jeep on it in those four letters. And you guys built a package that actually says the word Gladiator, but it can be customized so that it's two pieces to, accommodate two core accent colors within it. So that is pretty cool that you did that. And like, I know I've seen these kits before. I've seen you put these kits together. They come with everything, instructions on how to remove the Jeep, the original Jeep badge, put the new Gladiator badge on. And I think it even comes with like fishing line, right? Or,
yeah, it comes with monofilament to take it off, 80-pound monofilament to take it off. Comes with everything, soup to nuts to do it. Yeah, it was cool. She did, listen, I'll give her all the credit. She designed it, and she just got too busy, so I had to do it. And I do them. I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I make Gladiator badges and ship them all over the world. I ship them to Saudi Arabia. I ship them to Australia. I ship them England, Japan. I think I've hit most countries with them, and it's cool. I think that's pretty cool. That somebody could I came up with a dumb idea, and then somebody in
it's not Saudi so dumb Arabia if people in Saudi Arabia cool. are buying it, right?
So, but we don't, sub it out to anybody else. We do it, So that's like, one of the key things about us is, we're a family, when you call the shop, nobody answers the phone but my mom. She's been doing it for 36 years. God could call that phone and nobody else is going to pick it up. So if you when you call, you talk to an owner, when you order a Gladiator badge, we put it together and we ship it out. We don't sub anything out. When a car gets painted, my dad paints it, so, he's getting a little older, he doesn't really want to do too much of that anymore. That's why we're trying to steer a little bit away from painting and doing, like motor swaps and all that kind of stuff, because
of course
it's, it's a lot of work when you start painting cars. And so, especially in the summer when it's 100 degrees, you got to walk into a 120-degree booth.
So for all our listeners out there, if they're interested in the JT Tailgate Gladiator badge, how do they buy it?
You just go on urbanjeepoutfitters.com. You'll click the link that says Gladiator Letters, and it'll take you to a page where you can buy, Mojave matching, where it has the orange on the, and the middle is painted. We actually paint the middle of the letters, and then ship them out. So you're not getting like something that's close. It's like super close. We color match that. We do all that and paint everything. You get Rubicon matching, which is the red on the outside with the painted center. And then you can go wild. I just shipped that one that was pastel pink outlined with a hot pink center, so you can just
doing
get,
a lot of pink
crazy
Jeep stuff recently, man.
There's like,
there's a whole nother business.
Yeah, man. We were, so I got shot down, but I wanted to build a Barbie Jeep.
Like legit, like a copy of what pink, the OG Barbie Jeep was. Not the one that we talked about earlier that you did for the client.
Yeah. Right. Like a OG Barbie Jeep, So that was
it would have been pretty timely though, because it was the top movie of the year.
Yeah, but you had to. The thing is, it was. You had to do it pretty quick though, But I mean, everybody likes, Barbie Jeep, but in the Barbie movie, I'm sure you saw it, Chris.
I have not.
In the Barbie, yes,
no. I will
you
say
have not.
No, and I'll tell you where that comes from. My wife is not the biggest fan of going to a movie theater, so I'll end up seeing it once it comes out on demand. There's no question. I agree.
Okay, right. But it was a Barbie had a Jeep. That was it. And when you went to go see the movie, Barbie has a Hummer now because it's sponsored by GM. So, that's not right. You know what I mean? It's like, you got it. Barbie's got a Jeep. So I wanted to build a Barbie Jeep that was super true Barbie, pink interior. I wanted to go wild.
Hey, there is a butt for every seat. And, with your...
But if somebody's out there who wants one, I will build it.
That's awesome, I have no shame. And do a great job doing it. But let's, when we wrap up talking about builds here, let's talk about the TJ build. So you built years ago a TJ for yourself that was absolutely insane, right? I think the body had like over 200,000 miles on it, but the only thing that was really original from that original TJ, because you did a frame off custom build on a TJ, which for anybody else out there, it wouldn't make sense. There's nobody else out there that could do a custom build TJ and it make any type of financial or economic sense. You fortunately have the ability to have, all the resources, your own labor, your own know-how to do that, right? And the buyer, we'll talk about that. You recently sold that. The buyer, if they were to build that Jeep, it would have not even come anywhere close. You sold it for good money. Come close to if somebody contract exactly, right? But you have the ability and the resources to build something like that. So talk about the build. How did that TJ start and where did it end?
Well, my wife, again, she wanted it for some reason. She wanted a TJ, and I don't know. She thought it was cute or something. This little Jeep. So I was like, all right. So we went out and bought one. And I started doing like, I don't even know what I was going to do to it. I was just going to do a couple things to it. I think I was going to put some fenders on it, put some wheels and tires on it, put an interior in it, and that was it. And then, I took the fenders off and they had rust, and I was like, oh, I can't leave that. And then,
I was just going to do an interior and some fenders and some wheels and tires, and then I pulled the body off.
Yeah, well, I got the fenders off. Well, you might as well just pull the body. It's only like 6 more bolts. You might as well pull the body at that point. And then I was like, I had the bare frame there, and I was like, well, I might as well paint the frame while I'm at it. And then, that was a whole deal. It took me a year and a half. I pulled the motor out, and I powder coated, had the frame powder coated, and everything was brand new, putting it back together, new suspension, factory, but new. The suspension was painted to the color of the truck. The motor was painted to the color of the truck. It was like, I don't know when to stop. That's the problem. So, it's all stainless steel brake lines, and, it was beautiful. It had a beautiful interior in it and custom matched roll bars. And, it was nice. It was painted in 2012. Jeep came out with a color Winter Chill, which they haven't come back with yet. And there was a 1-year color, and it's a beautiful blue. So I was like, oh, well, she liked that color. So we painted it that with a nice camel interior. And then that was it. And then a year later, I blew the motor. I put a piston right through the block. So we put a brand new motor in it. So, the truck's got 175,000 miles on it. But the only thing that has that is the axles themselves, which are
the
painted,
frame and the body, right?
And the trans.
And I love that.
That's it.
I love how you kept it classic.
You
didn't lift it through the sky. You didn't do anything crazy. You kept it classic. You kept it as original as possible. But there were all these little Easter eggs all over it where, that's what really impressed me the most about that.
Like I shaved the lights. I shaved the lights in the fenders. I shaved everything on the hood. I put JL tail lights in it. I shaved the gate, and then I put a CJ7 fold down gate on it. And, I kind of made it, like you looked at it and you were like, what the hell is that thing? And that, I had some guy come up to me and he goes, is that the new 2021? And I was like, no, it's a 2000.
That's the best compliment you could have gotten.
So I loved like messing with people. I guess, yeah. I love messing with people with that thing, but that's, it's, and literally my wife drove it like 3 times, like that the whole time. She drove it like 3 times, and I would drive it back and forth to work, just cruise the beach with it. So yeah, but that was fun. But now, her business, she took over my garage, so I have nowhere to put it, and I can't keep it at the shop because the old man yells at me because it's got no doors, no top, every time it rains, I got to bring it in.
And actually, we have a funny story. You were the reason that I ended up selling the one that I said I would never sell, which is in my collection, which is the 1981 Omaha Orange CJ7. Right? You were the impetus for that. And we should tell this story because it's a funny story. So you had reached out to me in it was like May or June of this year, I think at some point. And you had said, hey man, you knew that I was, marketing and doing sales advisory and representing the sale of classic custom modified trucks, right? Which I've recently, I've been doing for many years. I actually have done for several listeners. I did it with classic.com for a while. And now I've been out on my own and really expanded the Classic 4x4 brand beyond just the podcast to do classic custom modified truck marketing and sales advisory, where basically I sell your truck for you. I handle every aspect of the sale from start to finish. So you knew this. You saw that I was repping a few trucks out there, and you reached out to me and said, hey man, we help me sell my truck? And I said, yeah, of course. And we actually worked out a pretty cool barter where you were going to do some work on my J10 for me. I was going to handle the sale of your truck. And the first step is the preparation, right? Preparation is the most important part of selling a vehicle, a classic, custom, modified, or any vehicle in general out into the market. And the first thing I did was I called my local photographer and I scheduled him to come and have you, or I was going to pick your truck up, your TJ, and we were going to go have it photoed. And like 2 days before, you called me and you're like, hey man, I got to do a couple things. I want this thing to be perfect. Whoever buys it, I have very high expectations. I need to do a couple things. Can you hold off on doing the photography? And I said, yeah, no problem. And I already had the appointment. I didn't want to cancel on the photographer. So I said, you know what? I'm going to have him go. And we're going to go up to Asbury. And it was actually the day that the Canadian wildfires literally took over the New York metro region in early June, which makes for great pictures. But an absolute horrible situation for humanity. But hey, that's a different. I had amazing pictures of my CJ7. So right. I had the photographer. Yeah, it was crazy. And if you look at those pictures, it was insane, right? But I had Morgan Downs, my trusty local photographer, who actually that was the first truck he had ever done. He's a surf photographer. By trade, he's a Belmar surf kid. Oh man!
Well, he'll be busy this week.
He's a surf photographer. He does weddings. He does different events. But I had him. I said, "Hey man, will you photo this truck?" And you had canceled. I did the CJ7. I had this great photo set of hundreds of amazing digital images, and I was like, you know what? Let me do this. I'll just throw it out into the market. Yeah, let me throw it out into the market, see what happens. Help out my friends at Ford, get a cool auction, and next thing you know, bam! It went through a 10-day auction and it sold for an absolutely amazing number. And I at that point, I was committed to sell it. Right. So, to all our listeners out there, Joe from Urban Jeeps is the reason that I sold the truck that I said I would never sell.
Well, it's like, I wanted to do some things at a truck and it's Monday and, I turn around, it's Friday already, and it's hard to work on your own stuff. What's the saying, the shoemakers, kids always go without shoes or something, it's like, that's us. We're just, I just never be able to work.
Customers come first over your own stuff, and I get it. But you ended up postponing it, and then I got busy throughout the summer, which is code for I was traveling and fishing a lot. And then you said, you know what, I'm just going to throw it out with sign and talk us about your. And I think this is a real thing out there, and a lot of people forget that it's very easy to buy a truck. It's a lot of fun to buy a truck. It's exciting, but selling it is not fun. So walk through your process, walk through that process. Cause it took you alone. What you just sold it, last week? So it took you over 4 months to actually sell it on your own without any help.
Yeah. Everyone wants to buy it. Until it's for sale. You know what I mean? So it's like, I'll give you $30,000 for it. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. And then it's like, it's for sale. And they're like, oh yeah, let me talk to the wife. You know what I mean?
It's funny you say that. And I agree with you is everybody wants to buy it until it's time to sell it. And then they have to write a check and nobody wants to write the check. And I agree with that. And you deal with a million looky-loos from, every marketplace and platform out there, classified listing site where you deal with that. And that's the advantage of what I do as representing vehicles for classic, modified, and custom trucks for sale is I handle all that from start to finish. The preparation, the valuation, the preparation, the strategy, going to market, managing all the listings, executing the sale, and then handling all the post sale, right? Because once it's sold, you still have to get paid. There's transportation, there's documentation, and that expertise. There's value in that expertise, and I love doing it. I just absolutely love doing it. But you did it on your own.
Yeah. Well, you're retired. You might as well.
I keep myself busy to say the least. But so it's
Yeah, hunt fishing, and we're doing.
So it took you 4 months to sell that thing on your own, and I'm sure you dealt with a bunch of looky-loos and insane people, right?
Right. Well, I could have sold it 2 days after. The guy came, looked at it. He wanted to wire me the money, but it just wasn't enough. And, he was playing games with me and, oh yeah, let me know. And let me see if I could, first of all, he rolled up to the shop in like a Panamera. And then he's like, the truck was for his beach house in Ocean City. So, okay. And then he's like, let me see if I can scrape the funds
together. Don't play this game. You want it or not,
It's like, come on, dude. Like, yeah. Right. You want it? Yeah. So I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll let you know, and then I was like, after that, you get a couple people here and there, but I sold it to a customer in town. He lives in town and, he drove by it. I have I stick it out. I got to stick it outside during the day because, I have to bring in customer cars and, Main Street's pretty busy there. And, I just stuck it outside with a for sale sign on it. And, he came and, we talked about it, and all this. And then, he showed up one day and I thought he was going to like serious and all that kind of stuff. And he came in and he shook my hand. He said, listen, I appreciate it. Good luck with the sale and all that. And, I wish it had like a fifth wheel on the back and, a couple things here and there, but, I appreciate and let me know how it goes. Thanks. And I was like,
after 4 months, right? 4 months of you trying to sell this thing on your own.
Yeah, I was like, and the problem is I got to sell it because I don't want to store it. Nobody's going to buy that thing in the wintertime. I have to store it all winter and then I have to start again in the spring. And then I don't want to do that. I just want to be gone with it. So, I texted him like a day later, I was like, hey, I found the fifth wheel for it. And, I could put a bumper on there for you for nothing. And let me work that in the deal and all that. And then he came back the next day and gave me a deposit. So, I told you, I said, let me try to reel this guy back in here. And then if it doesn't work out, like, I'm just going to give it to you because I'm just. So
after 4 months of those trials and tribulations, and you're somebody that's in the business, right? That builds custom four-wheel drives and trucks, right? Do you see the value now in having somebody with expertise execute the sale of your truck? Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's a hard. People don't realize, they think they're just going to like, put it out there and the guy walks up with cash, gives it to you and takes it. It's never that easy. You might have a deal.
But it definitely did. You found the needle in the haystack. That is a local buyer in town, like, is a very needle in the haystack buyer.
Well, he was, he's a little bit older. He's retired and he just wants to kind of cruise around town, in it. And he's going to keep it in the garage. Not going to drive it in the winter, all that kind of stuff. So, I felt it was going, I put a lot of work into that truck and I wanted to somebody like, not like go take it off road the next day. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't really, I got paid. I don't really care, but I would like to see it, do what I did with it, which was, I cruised around, it with your family. I'd go to the beach, so right. I enjoyed it. So and I knew he was going to enjoy it like that. So I kind of wanted to, sell it to him. And it's going to be in town, so I'll see it, so, but, it was, selling things is, we tried to sell that JL.
First off, I love that Porsche color.
Miami
People
blue.
hate on that color. I love Porsche Miami blue.
Yeah, but, the old man didn't.
Makes it even better. Come on, come on. I
know, but you took a Jeep.
Yeah.
You want to talk about getting hammered? You took a Jeep and you put a white interior in it, and that was I was like, well, whatever. Listen, that's you did it. I'll be able to give you a hard time about your decision. You know what I mean?
Course.
So. You know how we are at the shop. It's a lot of banter back and forth.
That took you guys
kind of
a while to sell. That was
we sold it.
Beautiful, absolute beautiful.
It took us a while. It took us almost a year to sell that truck,
on your own.
And because we sold the first one, you know, we repped it at a local dealer. And we sold it in like 2 hours.
That woman actually still drives around. She's local too. I see her all the time. Yeah. She's local. She lives in Spring Lake. So she loves that thing. And then the woman who bought, you know, first of all, you know, a lot of my customers are women. A lot of them. Like I would say 60%. I'm not surprised at all, actually.
You know, are women. And, you know, no, and it's, you know, what helps is you call the shop and Lori answers the phone. You know what I mean? It's not like you're walking into a shop where it's like a bunch of grease heads and
nobody's rough and tumble.
They're all dirty and, you know, looking at you. No. It's like, you know, you call the shop, it's Lori. You walk into the shop, it's Lori. But the woman who bought the Porsche Miami one, we had it at the Porsche dealer. And it was sitting next to a 911 in Porsche Miami blue. And but the problem with Porsche is they're not allowed to really advertise that something like that is for sale. So it's like
somebody had to trip over it.
It just sits there. You know, it's like you kind of have to trip over and ask and say like, hey, what's this thing doing here in the same color? You know what I mean? So she saw it at Porsche, and then I put it at Porsche for about a month, and then I took it back because it just, you know, you can't really sell anything without a for sale sign on it. You know what I mean? And without them even repping it. And then I guess she drove past the Porsche place and it was gone. And she was like, oh, that's it. You know what I mean? It's like somebody bought it. And her husband went to the plumbing place across the street from the shop, which he never goes to. And he pulled up and he was like, is this the same Jeep that was at the Porsche dealership? We're like, yeah. So he called his wife and she's freaking out on the phone. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. This must be like fate, you know, all this kind of stuff. And she came down, looked at it, and she bought it. And she loved it. She was in there yesterday. I was putting rhinestone license plate covers on it.
That.
Because
I love to hear that, man. That is super cool.
And she loves that thing, like absolutely loves it. She's like, this thing gets so much attention, you know, this and that. And
I love Miami Blue. And I'll tell you, I have a story. The first time I ever saw Porsche Miami Blue was a good friend of mine custom ordered a 911 GT3 RS in Porsche Miami Blue with the white decal package and the white interior, right? And yeah, I gotta tell you. So, I will tell you, he took so much flack from our other buddies about it, and they actually started calling him. I won't say it on air because it's not very nice, but they started calling him a derogatory term for Papa Smurf. Right, I'll put it to you that way. Right, and he finally actually, and I used to say to my buddies, I'd be like, guys, do you realize like? He built this, he loves this, and outside of the money that he spent on it, like, why you gotta bust his chops about it? Like, he loves it, that's all that matters, right? But when all your it's all guys, right? They're all gonna mess with each other. And then finally one night, and he's a very mild-mannered guy, like, which is weird because a guy that drives a GT3 RS in Miami Blue is usually not very mild-mannered, but he's a very modest. Yeah, he's a very modest, mild-mannered guy, and he'll never, throw back at everybody. And one night we were sitting around a fire pit, and we were having some cocktails, and a couple of my buddies just drilled into him, and they started. And I finally sat up. I was like, guys, let's be real for a second. Right, you're drilling into him. It's getting a little aggressive. That car costs more than the down payment than all of you put down on your houses combined. Okay, so give him some respect. Yeah, right. Show some respect. All right, outside of the fact that he loves it, show some respect.
Show some respect.
And from that day forward, none of our other buddies ever busted his chops ever once, right? And he still thanks me to this day. He's gotten rid of the car. He's driving a McLaren now, which I feel like that's like the new thing, right? Everybody drives a McLaren. Oh, our buddy Danny France is driving a McLaren.
Yeah, everybody and her brother's got a McLaren.
Yeah.
Danny France with a McLaren. Yeah.
Oh,
my buddy,
our friend Mike, who owns the detail shop. Why did I just blank on the name? Evolution Auto Spa. He's getting rid of his turbo for a McLaren. I feel like that's the new hot car. But Danny France said something to me once about that McLaren, which I thought was hysterical. He said, you know what? Because he had an R8 beforehand. Yeah, well, that's a BOS. But he had an R8. He got rid of his R8 for that McLaren. And he said to me, he goes, you know what bought this? I was like, what? He goes, powder coating black wheels. He's like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
I know, because there was. I mean, people still do it, but there was like a good decade where that was super cool. It's not that cool anymore, right? But it was a trend, and man, it bought him a beautiful McLaren, and it is a gorgeous truck or a gorgeous car.
He's cool. I just dropped off 392 wheels to him yesterday that he's doing for me. He's doing like these Boston wheels, and the customer who has a McLaren, he ordered the Boston wheels in silver, and then he didn't like them when they came in silver. So now he's getting them like this cool bronzy color. So Danny's going to do them in that.
That's cool. So
I like Danny. Danny's cool. You know, Danny's young. He's, he's motivated, he's getting out there. So
yeah, man. So everybody out there if you ever need any powder coating or plating done, chrome plating, any type of plating, you gotta call our buddy Danny France at,
Yeah, I'm sending him the bill for this.
He's going to be our newest sponsor on the Classic 4x4 podcast. But call our friend Danny France at Dayton Customs. We have a good crew here of Jersey Shore, younger, more vibrant Jersey Shore, car and truck enthusiasts. Me, you, Danny France, Mike D'Alessandro, who owns Evolution Auto Spa, which does all of our detailing for our group of friends. I will say, we'll end on this. I'm very thankful to have such a great crew of buddies, but that are also enthusiasts that share the same, the same love. And we all have this amazing passion for cars and trucks. And hey, you're one of those. So I definitely appreciate your time today too, Joe. All right. So, dude, thank you so much for your time, your participation, and thank you for telling our listeners all about those unique builds and especially those Barbie Jeeps, man. All right, buddy. Have a good day,
there you go. Send me them. I'll build them.
Rock on.
All right, man.
That was a fun conversation with Joe Fattorosi from Urban Jeep Outfitters. I'm very excited to not only call him and consider him a friend, but I do get the benefit of seeing him and talking to him on a weekly basis. So I enjoyed speaking with him this afternoon, and their builds are absolutely insane. If you have a Jeep or any type of Mopar product, a TRX, whatever it is, that you want to build out, that is a modern JK, JL, JT, make sure you look them up, take them into consideration, reach out to them, check them out. But stay tuned for our next episode where we talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart and something I actually enjoy doing, something that we've expanded the Classic 4x4 brand into, which is how to sell your classic, custom, and modified truck and 4x4. Stay tuned.